Hi everyone, today we're going to do another melt and pour soap experiment. If you like watching videos about melt and pour soap, cold process soap, or other handmade bath and body products, for hobby soap makers, go ahead and like and subscribe to the video because I try to post weekly. Sometimes I don't get to post a new video every week, but I'm trying my best to keep a weekly schedule. For this tutorial, we're going to do a pink Himalayan salt bar. And I'm getting this idea from like a cold process recipe that I made years ago, where a bulk of the ingredients is actually the pink Himalayan salt itself. So first I'm going ahead and cutting down like the white soap base. I am using a shea butter soap base. It is the Crafter's Choice base if you're interested in it. I started off with equal parts of the soap and equal parts of the salt. That didn't work out that well, so I had to add a little bit more soap, and I'll explain that in a minute. So once you measure out the salt, you want to make sure you get all the clumps out of it. It's going to help when you mix the other ingredients. I'm using this white tea fragrance oil from Candle Science, and I do love it. It is really serene, and it smells sort of like a spa. I'm also going to put this fragrance oil directly into the soap. Since I've only measured out about 4 ounces of soap to start, I went ahead and just used a half a tablespoon. You can also add more if you want. Like I said, this was sort of an experiment. I ended up doing, I think, a total of 7 ounces of soap and then 4 ounces of the sea salt. So if that helps you guys make sense of how to, sort of measure things out, the more salt that you keep in these, the harder the bar of soap is going to be, and that is the intention that I wanted. I didn't want the salt to just be suspended kind of loosely. I wanted to make sure that it was really like a heavy bar of soap, mostly salt for exfoliating. So the soap base is at 138. I let it cool down maybe a degree or two more, and then I started pouring the soap into the salt. This is going to harden up rather quickly. So like I said, you kind of just have to keep stirring it as best as you can and mix it in as well as you can. And then once everything is fully incorporated, you can go ahead and pour it into the molds. So I had to do this a couple of times where I would just kind of mix it in, and then I started to put it into the mold. I realized that there was a bunch of salt still at the bottom of the cup that didn't get mixed all the way in. So I just kind of added more soap and then remixed it down as I was going because I couldn't move quick enough. Once you start to pour the melt and pour soap into this much salt, it just really wants to harden up quickly, which makes a lot of sense because if you're doing a cold process soap recipe, that bar of soap, when it's curing, normally you wait like a whole 24 to 48 hours before you cut the bar of soap, but with a salt bar like this, you would wait about 6 to 8 hours. So here you can kind of see where I had been messing around with it, and I just added more soap in, and it finally got to a consistency I wanted, but I wanted to keep it on the kind of thick and chunky side because, like I said, I wanted this to be super exfoliating and a really hard bar of soap. So when you're making this type of soap, you will notice that it was really hard to get in the mold and make sure that the bars of soap kind of kept their shape. So next time I do this, I think I will do it in my loaf mold. And I think I'll do a bigger batch with maybe more of a soap, probably like a 2/3 soap to 1/3 ratio of salt. And maybe that will help kind of keep the consistency the way I like it a little bit better. Because I didn't really want it bowing out the actual individual bars, and it kind of looked a little ugly in there. Another way you could probably make this look a little cleaner is if you're doing individual ones and you maybe melt it down again a lot like I'm doing here, or once it's in the mold, maybe take a heat gun to it and kind of just smooth that out a little bit, because you can see there's just like chunks of melted down soap that didn't get all the way mixed in. So it just kind of, it wasn't in a desired look. So I think if I did this on a bigger batch and poured it into just maybe like a 1 pound mold or into like a bigger, larger mold, and then cut it almost immediately after pouring it, I think it would be a little bit more visually appealing. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you guys liked watching this video. I'm going to show how it lathers in just a second. Now you can probably wait about an hour or two before removing it from the mold, but I waited a full 24 hours just because I really wanted to make sure I wasn't going to mess it up any more than I could. As you can see, like I said, it's really kind of ugly, but it is a super hard bar of soap. There's no bending like sometimes with melt and pour soap, it kind of bends a little bit. There's definitely none of that, and it's super abrasive. And for the lather test, it's similar to the cold process soap that I've made, so I was pleased with the lather. You're going to see a lot of little bubbles and maybe more of like a creamy lather rather than like big bubbles. That's just because there's so much salt in there, and it's mostly getting properties from that versus actually the soap. So like I said, it's good for like scrubbing your feet or getting rid of dead skin. It's not an everyday soap bar that you would use.